Just to note what Munira did. Don't tell me what makes it happy, secret, or make up a fact. Mix it up. Just tell the story. Yeah. So the next pair is Mevish and Arish.
Okay, so in fact, like Mahvish shared like her selected object, which was like a silver glass. If I show you the screen like this, in fact, then this is the silver glass, which she has photographed like this, and like some other views of it. And there's a story, a very interesting story behind it, because there's a silver glass which was like her grandfather was like a major on the rank of major in the British Army, and he was posted in Pune, and this is like story from 1942. So this like silver glass has inscription, like kind of like, because these two pair of these silver glass, in fact, got made, one for him and one for his second wife, to be second wife. In fact, they never got married. In fact, yeah. But like somehow, in fact, like the angry part, and then that moment, made.
Okay, you have 15 seconds left. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry. So angry part is that like they couldn't get number one, they couldn't get married, and the glass was misplaced, and he took it very kind of like a as an angry stance. In fact, like something which was a gift. And he got made it with kind of like affection. So it's like it was lost. But later on, he found that glass at one of the relatives' place, and then he just like got hold of it.
Okay, so, Arish, I'm going to have to stop because it's already 1 minute 30 seconds. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, we have to honor time. Okay. Okay, good. Because everyone's being timed. Okay, good. Thank you, Arish. Okay, and Mevish, do you want to tell us about Arish's object? So what makes it angry? What makes it happy? Secret and a fact, and tell it to us like a story in 1 minute. Let's go.
So this is this painting, and the object is a greeting card of a painting, and this is by a renowned artist in Lahore. The painting's name is called Basant over Killa Gujar Singh. So there was this girl who was also flying a kite, and there were so many men around there. And actually, there is this spring time in Lahore, and we can see so many trees and lots of beauty of Lemondosa and lots of sumbul trees all around, and these really close nooked housing areas and roofs all around there. But there was this girl who just lost her kite, and she was tormented by the whole idea, because because there were men all around, and she was the only woman there on the roof with the kite, and she just wanted to represent something, and that just made her cry so really bad. And so she just hurried from there and went down to the street where there are still trees shown in the painting of this Bengali building, which now is also not there anymore in its presence, and is removed by the government. So it just revives the idea of her sadness, probably.
Oh, thank you. 1 minute 30 seconds. Beautiful story. Okay. Shobna and Rupal. I'm just going to reset it. Yeah. What's going first? Is Rupal with us? I can't see her.
Yeah, sorry.
No problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Shobna, you want to go first?
Yeah. Can you see this? These are collection. Rupal's dad had a collection of matchbook cars. It was his pride and joy, and through this he actually relived his childhood as an adult. and and he also shared the joyous part, sharing it with other kids as well as part of his childhood, which would have been an amazing experience, I guess. The only sad part was that was angry part was that he became possessive about it. So sorry, he was the fact was he was possessive. The angry part was that after he passed away, when the collection was to be moved, the package actually came back but destroyed a whole lot of it. So that is, a part of history gone. So that was the angry part, I guess, about that. Yeah, I think, and the fact is that it is very precious, and he became quite possessive about it. Yeah. There we go.
Sorry, I'm working from my phone, so
No
Shobna,
problem.
can you share your image?
So I'll
Thank you.
Anuja?
Yeah. Thank you for keeping time. Your time starts now, Rupal. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the first book that Shobna read. It was published in 1993. And this kind of made her aware of who she was. She was also happy that there were many more people like her and she wasn't alone. Well, then on the other hand, there were not so many more books on this topic or subjects. And well, I think, yeah, that's about it.
Okay. Thank you. Super. Okay. Avantika and Avni.
Okay, I think I'll go first for Avantika's object. So it is recording the equipment which her grandfather used to record ghazals. So it is important that whoever is working with it pays attention to it and works with it, giving the sufficient concentration and handles the equipment well. So, and if the equipment would be happier if there was a beautiful voice who was recording equipment. That's about it.
Thank you. I think somebody needs to mute themselves. There's a little bit of noise. Okay. Avantika, are you with us?
Yes. So Abni mentioned this beautiful piece of writing. It's a poetry written by her great grandmother. And it was just yesterday when her mother was able to sort of decode and decipher it as to what it meant. It's a delicate piece of paper, and Avni thinks that it would be most happy if someone from the family is able to understand it and acknowledge its presence. Also, the thing she feels is that it's a poetry written by her great grandmother for her daughter-in-laws. So we thought that it was more like a note of love from the mother-in-law to the daughter-in-laws to take care of themselves when she's not around. And that's what it was. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Deepti and Tana?
Deepti, do you want to go first? Should I go first? Deepti, hi. Do you want me to go first? Okay, I'll go first.
Sorry.
So I don't know if you can see this picture. It's that of a wallet, and there are two photographs of a father and a daughter. And this is essentially Professor Srikantam, and that's the picture of Deepti's father-in-law, I believe, and his daughter. Now, it's there's a story that she told me that that her father-in-law never used wallets all his life, and they discovered, however, a wallet after he passed away, and they were very surprised because he never used a wallet all his life. And inside the wallet, they found this picture, these two photographs, which I just showed you of the father and the daughter. And the daughter had passed away when she was 9 years old in some bizarre accident, and so he never celebrated his birthday because that was his birthday, and his daughter passed away that day. And strangely, last year on his daughter's birthday, he passed away at the age of 94. So it's a very bizarre sort of story, and I was just that's a secret that that was very interesting for me. That there was a pickpocket when he was in I think Nanjangud or some place
Nanjangud, yes.
Nanjangud, yes, where he was there was somebody who had pickpocketed him, and after that he never kept a wallet, right? So in that sense, he never used a wallet, and inside the wallet is the memory of his daughter who had passed away. So keeping both the things aside, that by itself was very. It's not happy; it's sad for me. So I could not see happiness or joy there. I could see a lot of sadness there.
Thank you. Thank you. It's almost 2 minutes. I will also just say, tell the story. Don't make the comment on the story yet.
Okay.
What Kana did is she's commenting on it, which is fine. But I'm saying just tell the story and see what happens. The comments will come. Let the story evoke it in all of us. Yeah? And let's see what happens. Yeah.
Okay.
And the other person should not interrupt, because now our objects are with the archivists or with the storytellers. Let them interpret it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Here is a photograph. I don't know if you can all see this. Yeah, it's a large group of people, and in the center is Sir Prabhashankar Patni. He was knighted. And he was a Diwan of Bhavnagar, and he has done commendable work between 1880 and the 1920s, and that is a archive that Tana and Avni are putting together. Now, he never wanted anyone to write about him. So he never wanted his work to be documented. So in a way, which is why there was nothing written or nothing documented so far about him. And in the exercise they say make up a fact. So I'm wondering if I should make up a fact like the media does. So in that case, I found this photograph by this, in the studio of Manohar and Company in Bhavnagar. So since I'm a photographer, I was traveling and I happened to chance upon this photograph.
Great, thank you. That's good. We kept also time, 1 minute. Okay. Who's left? Aarti and Vallavi are left, and Vishwesh and Niharika. Yeah. Now, where is Priyanjana? Who is she paired up with?
Can I just share my Priyanjali, would you want to go first if I share my screen?
Sorry, who's the other person talking? Because I can't see her in this list. I'm a bit confused. Okay, Aarti. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, Aarti,
I'll just put up the picture, Priyanjali.
Priyanjali?
So Priyanjali is facing some internet connections. You guys will have to go a little slow for her to. Yeah.
Okay, sure. I'm just showing you a picture which she can talk about, if you can really see that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's signed out. There's some internet. I think let the other team continue and we'll join in later.
Okay. Who's going next? Ishita, do you know who's in? I'm getting confused with the participants. Are Vishwesh and Niharika here? And we don't have someone paired up with anyone, is it?
It's Aman and Vallavi. It's Vishwesh and Niharika, and then Kamal and.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to, I think, quickly share screen because then you can see the images clearly. Share, and so here are the objects really. Yeah. And the other one is, yeah. Niharika, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah.
So this is Vishwesh's object, right, Niharika?
Yes, this is Vishwesh's object. It is called Trees, and it's a book called Trees and Shrubs of India. It's a naturalist's guide to the trees and shrubs. It's written by Pradeep Sachdeva, and it is it's a book which has no secrets. It's quite an open book with a robust bibliography. But it seems that the book is based on other reference book material and not so much on experience of the authors. But using the book really makes it happy. So people taking the book around and identifying plants through it makes the book happy and recharges it and builds it in a way. But indifference to the subject material, not knowing which plant is what and not identifying trees correctly is probably what disappoints the book and what the book would like to change. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm actually going to talk about this particular, it's a century-old lace crimper, which has one screw that is made out of, a silvery metal, and it's not its original brass metal. And this has sort of been locked up in a cupboard, which is for the last 50 years or so, which makes it very unhappy. But, it's very happy when it sort of is being used in its place, it's its place of origin, Jaswantgarh. And where it sort of has been used to sort of make Gotapatti work, and especially, for, Niharika's grandmother-in-law's trousseau. So this is sort of the story of this object, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Ishita and Kamal, do you want to go?
Aarti, I'm back.
Okay.
So,
Okay, good.
Aarti, sorry, if you could just show your and my image, because I'm on the phone and I can't show either.
Sure, no problem. So I'll show this picture again, which I had started off with.
So that's 1 minute. This is Priyanjali's or Aarti? So who's telling? Priyanjali, you're telling Aarti's story,
yes.
right? Okay,
yes.
Let's go. Your time starts now.
So this is Pradeep Sachdeva's archive, and this image talks about the different things they found during the process of collecting things from the office. So some of them were these beautiful drawings, but they were kept in different places. So it was a challenge for them to bring it together and put them in different places and clean it out, etc. And some of the things they found, which was the most exciting, was these little slides. And those slides are also now kept well, and they are trying to figure out ways to see the different slides. However, it's extremely challenging for them to see all this because some of the equipments don't work. But some of the beautiful things is when they do work and they get to see it, they see these pictures and portraits of people who people have not spoken about, and they discover new things. And through this, they have found this wonderful treasure, and they continue to discover more things.
Good. Yeah, 1 minute. But I didn't know what makes the object happy and angry and the secret or the fact. Anyway, let's keep the questions in mind. We've got a lot of information. That's great. Yeah, let's go.
So this is the picture. Hang on, let me just get it closer. So this is a still from a motion picture, a beautiful one of this young bride who is sitting and lounging on the bed and trying to read and write something. Now this picture is really beautiful because this belongs to a time which represents, say, the early 19th century, when women were not encouraged to be educated or read or write. And even in those times, there's this one particular beautiful lady who's managing to do that, and all her, thing of, being dressed up in beautiful jewelry and in her recently married sort of a state, she's still sitting up on her bed, relaxing and reading and writing. The cinematographer, Dinesh Gupta, was a brilliant cinematographer, but I don't think he got the right sort of accolades he required for being a fantastic photographer. I mean, if you see the quality of light and the composition in this picture, it's quite evident that happened. And the best part of this whole thing was, besides actually obtaining and finding this picture, is that all the jewelry worn by this lady still belongs to Priyanjali.
Okay, thanks, Aarti. Okay, last two people. Again, tell the story from the point of view of the object. Yeah, that would
Saman
be nice.
And it should be Saman and Vallavi.
Oh, sorry. Okay, Saman and Vallavi.
Vallavi is here.
Yeah. Wait, I'll show you guys the object.
Vallavi, I'm starting your time because we really need to keep this crisp and.
Yeah.
I think.
Can you all see the object?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is someone's object, and so 1 minute. Sorry. So it's a biscuit box that belongs from 1950s, and it was once a day, daily object in homes, but now the happy part is that it's a memory for a lot of people, and people associated with happiness, and even for the ones who are staying near to the factory, they still get the smell of this biscuit, which brings in a sense of nostalgia. And the fact is that it is called Mangaram JB Biscuits, and it was merged into Britannia in 1938, and it's originally from Sindh, Pakistan. And yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you. Yeah. Okay, your partner who's Wallabi's part, yeah, Sana, yeah.
Wallabi's object. So this is a chopper which belongs to her great grandmom, which was not passed on but was taken away by her grandmom. And what makes it happy is it usually kept in cupboard, but she often teaches it to people, her family and her. So that's what makes it happy. And this is very fancy looking aesthetic with bodies to play with. And also it has been in a family from around 150 years. So, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. The last pair.
Kamal, do you want to go first?
This is the object. So this object was entrusted to Ishita by the royal family of Gujarat. It was also crafted with much care and creativity. It belongs to many people, but at the same time, it belongs to no one. And the sad thing about it is that nobody took care of it.
Thank you. Yeah. Ishita.
Okay. 1 second. So, can you guys? Sorry, I don't know how this works. Just give me 1 second. Yeah, can you guys see the photograph?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's Kamal's object. And story goes, this photograph was taken 300 kilometers outside of Secunderabad, and it hides many secrets, not one. These men whom you see coming together happily as they stare into the lens, they seem to be hiding a pain which can't be expressed, a pain that frustrates their happiness. Sorry, I lost the track. And the frustration emerges from the fact that not everyone can read the languages in it.
Okay, thanks, Ishita. Great, thank you guys. I love the objects talking. I mean, it doesn't matter how we interpreted this exercise. Just all your objects have come alive with such deep layered stories. Okay, I just have one round of questions to hear. How did you feel when somebody else was talking about your object? I don't want to say what you felt while you were talking about the object. How did you feel when somebody else was representing you or your story or the object? And obviously some of you did well, and it's a tough exercise. It's not easy. Some of you embellished it more, which is quite exciting. The objects were really alive. Some were interpreting it. So how did you feel? Or did someone miss out a fact? What did you feel when someone misrepresented you? Yeah, just your thoughts.
Yeah, so I've just, shall I
Yes.
talk?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. So I did try to put into words the feeling that I had. So I had written that down. There were two points. The first point was this, that it's not always about the information that you get from the storyteller. it's not the information, it's also the part of the storyteller that the storyteller puts into making that information about the object. Number one was that point. And secondly, the second point is sort of attached to the first point, that when the informer tells the informed about the story, they have to let go of the story and the object. Do I keep on speaking? Because I think Anuja is okay. Yeah, you're back. So, so I felt that they have to detach themselves from the object and the story when it has been informed to the informer. So I just felt that it was a conflict about the authenticity of the story and the letting go of the story and actually making it becoming a story, another version of the story. So that's how I felt.
So Anuja, I wanted to, for me, I was a little uncomfortable actually narrating somebody else's story, because for me, it's a very deeply personal, especially the story that came to me, right? What Deepti told me. I was not comfortable because I thought it doesn't do justice to the story, to what it is, So something so personal, it just made me a little uncomfortable. That's all, Not in any other way, but the fact that I wouldn't be able to convey the true essence of it made me a little uncomfortable in terms of narrating it. That's all.
Great, thank you. It's a brave thing to share that you are uncomfortable. But you are working on a family archive, are you not?
I am, but those are, we haven't, at least I haven't come across deeply personal papers yet. We are looking at the archives of an administrator of a statesperson, right? So they are all extremely formal, very, very, very different sort of a language that I see. Extremely formal language, nothing to do largely with the personal experiences. And, the photographs especially are not so personal. Like the photograph that Deepti shared is like a group photo, right? So very little of the essence of Sir Prabhashankar Patni is what I get. In the sense, of course, I get to know about him as a statesperson, as a statesman, but nothing as an individual in that sense, So for me, this is like the opposite end of a spectrum in terms of narratives, where the deeply personal sort of stories. So that is what made me uncomfortable, not anything else per se.
That's a great observation. That's very, very perceptive. Yeah. Others, just a quick round.
Yeah, I felt the same way too. I felt like I didn't do justice in the way I was talking about Mr. Pradeep Sachdeva. And they obviously, even the image that I had to speak about, I felt that I wasn't doing justice to the entire work that they're actually working on.
This is a sense of responsibility you're feeling, and and a discomfort. Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. Yeah. Anybody else?
Yeah. I echo the same feeling that I felt I could have spoken a bit more, but then, well, I didn't. And I'm sorry, I forgot a fact that reading the book led Shobna to become a publisher herself. So, yeah, I'm sorry I forgot that. Besides that, what I loved is, even though what I was showing or what I was sharing was just a toy in a sense, right? For anyone who doesn't know the story and they look at it as just a toy, but when I told Shobna, even in those few words, what it meant, I could actually sense her appreciation of the emotion behind the object. So that was lovely.
But was I able to represent that when I?
Absolutely.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
For me, the observation was a bit contrasting, and I don't know how. Because I don't think I was putting in that kind of a thought, but I disconnected with Kamal and her relationship with the photograph once the data was with me, and I wanted to see what I could do with it. So even though we were the last ones, we had little less time, but for me, it was more important. The dissemination sort of overtook very quickly, which I've not seen in my own work as well. That's why I'm finding it very interesting out of this exercise. I spend too much of time interpreting and deciding and telling it the right way. And usually I've seen that the dissemination takes a back seat or doing it the right way. But today I disconnected immediately and I started writing it down and saying what I had to say about the photograph. And there I added my own voice very comfortably. So.
That's also very great acceptance. I mean, it's very brave. Of course, we do that. We are human beings. We do it immediately. Thanks, Ishita. That's very sharp as well. Yeah.
Just along the same lines, I was going to say, like, I feel very distant from my archive and that object. So I was so happy to have it interpreted by somebody else and for them to put some of their own, like, you know, opinion on it or pizzazz to it. I was like, yeah, that sounds right. So it's interesting.
Yeah, I think I have the same thing to share because Tana says she was not comfortable, but I heard something from a third person, from Deepti, and it felt like, okay, the message has just gone across and there's so much that she's put it in a nutshell, which we've been talking about for so long. So and you can imagine what is going to happen once you make the archive public and then people are going to talk about it. So that kind of a perception came out, yeah.
That's really beautifully put, Avni. I think this is a little bit about, of course, recounting, but it's also about reception. We may intend to send out a message and it's received very differently. So we have control, but not complete control. Okay, just to come to our last exercise, something into our own comfort zones. Can you all hear me? I feel like my audio is a bit scrambled.
We can hear you well.
Okay, because I think I can hear myself, which is a bit unnerving. The last exercise for the day. So thank you for sharing with each other. And actually, you all did a good job of representing each other. But I think there have been some critical points, you know, that Tana raised, also what Mevish was saying or what Ishita was saying. There's a discomfort. There's an authenticity kind of question that we ask ourselves. Some people felt liberated that Dipti received and told that story well. So these are different emotions that you're working with. Just to do something really simple. If it's this object or another object, I just want you to spend 20 minutes thinking of its place, history, context, and telling us about it in the way that you want to, right? Which either the place can be where it's coming from or where it's placed just now, a little bit of its history and the context. So as if we were placing now this archive in a public space, and then as audience members or as partakers of the archive, we walk in so we know the place, its history, and its context. And you can use embellishment, you can use fact, you can use secrets, you can use fiction, but create a story around your own objects. Yes, we do this for our own objects now. That is right. That is right. And did anyone feel uncomfortable when someone was making up? Because Mevish really made up beautiful stories about Arish. I could tell that she was making up stuff. Even the way Munira was telling stories, that got in a lot of, like, I was laughing quite a lot. Arish, were you okay that she embellished the kite and the woman? And
I'm like very glad that Mevish, like, you know, like portrayed in a way and just like told a story. And it's like, I said, thank you, that like you're a good storyteller.
Very good.
To be honest, like it's kind of like difficult exercise to talk about like all these stories and all these secrets and historical context in a shorter like time. So like it was like 1 minute or 30 seconds, because one can talk about all these like contextual kind of content for longer. I was like, because it happens in class, in fact. So it was 3 hours theory class will go you know, very smoothly, but like somehow when there is a cap that you would have to just like, you know, think in a certain way, then what to say and what not to say. I think like this is great, but this has been very helpful.
But it's also very important if you're going to put captions, or if you're going to create title cards, if you're going to catalog it, and how will the catalog be described? We don't have 3 hours to describe a catalog, right? We might have 5 lines. We might have one label before, if you want to open up the archival collection for an exhibition. If there are photographs that need to be, you know, less is more, we always say. So how can we make our thoughts concise and convey narrative, convey context? So this is, I just want to spend the last half an hour, even 20 minutes, even shorter, to listen to your stories about your object, just place, history, and context. If you want to embellish it, embellish it. If you want to keep it straight, clean narrative, but let's be able to understand something about the object or the photograph. And I really like it when we hear it from the point of view of your object. It adds a layer of fiction just for our exercise. It allows for a little bit of suspension of disbelief. Yeah. So let's say.
Could I clarify on behalf of them? Should we stick to the objects which we already worked with? Would that be right?
Yeah, it's fine. It's totally fine if you like. Yeah, if it's easier.
Yeah.
The point of this exercise, it was also fun if you get to see another object. That's fine by me. The point of this exercise is to spend 15 minutes really thinking about the object, clarifying, distilling our thoughts, and positioning it. If I were to open up my archive, if I were to put a label under it, if I want to catalog it, how would it read? How do I want to place the object in front of the world? That is my question. How do I deliver this baby? What do I say about it without spending 5 hours talking about it, right? So to clarify it, I'm saying, so place, I've written place, history, context. That's it. And if the place is Timbuktu, that's fine. Or if there's no origin to the place, say, I don't know where I was born. But I'm also allowing you and giving you this tool of fiction if you want to make it interesting. Yeah, place, history, context, that's right. But I mean, you can also just start just focusing the energy on writing, on representing this object. Really, I'm saying, how do you place it in the world now? We've cataloged it nicely. We have all our sheets. We know how it's conserved beautifully. But now I want somebody to come into the archive and access it. What do I say about it? Without closing it down, how do I open it up? How do I open it up enough? These are going to be vital questions, right? If as a researcher I want to access an object or a photograph, what will drive me to it? Which folder will I put it in? What kind of stories will my object enable? How will now the archive come alive is the question. Yeah? Yeah. So whoever's ready can go. Yeah, no problem. And the others can continue writing so that we, yeah.
So
it's the same object, Rupa, you want to talk about?
No, it's another set of objects. It's my grandfather's watches. These are the watches. So, well, time I'm unsure of, but I'm assuming that these were bought around the 70s when my father started traveling abroad for work. Well, I really don't know. So there is one pocket watch, which is an HMT, which I'm assuming was bought in Bombay itself. And the other one that you see here in the little box actually had a chain with it, which I don't have anymore. And that's the one that my dad bought from abroad, but I'm not sure where. The context here, Anuja, is the moment I see these watches, it brings alive a visual, a complete visual of my grandfather, and it makes me feel very close to him. So, you know, even after the family sort of, my dad and all were 5 brothers, and even after everyone shifted in their individual houses, we were all in Sion area. And my grandfather used to stay with my my youngest uncle, Kaka. But every Sunday morning, he would make it a point to visit all of us. And I distinctly remember that he was a very simple man, even after, you know, the family prospering. He always dressed in a dhoti or kurta, a black bandi or a sleeveless jacket. And for him, his demands were very few, but he couldn't imagine not having a pocket watch in his bandi. So these are those watches, and it somehow brings out this emotion in me because we were extremely close to my grandfather. And what fascinates me about these watches, in the sense, both of them are not working, and in a way, to me, they sort of have frozen a moment in time, and it also makes me wonder that why were these not repaired? You know, makes me question that, because he was so particular about having his pocket watch properly there in his bandi. So yeah, I mean, briefly speaking, this is what is the importance of the watches for me.
Great. And Rupa, is this going to be a digital archive or a physical archive or both, or you don't know yet?
No,
how do you imagine?
Digital. Digital. Because my family, when I talk of, is about 120 members now, spread all over. And you know, I there's not really any one place where I can house it, right? Each one of us has certain things which will add to the archive. So I've largely thought of it as a digital archive, an online portal. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. You can stop sharing now. It's freaking me out to see myself in 2 places.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that done?
Yeah. So, I mean, if thanks, Rupa. If anybody else wants to share, it's also nice if someone's written a text. It's always nice to write it down and read out the text. So it's, we keep our thoughts and our communication clear.
I'll show you a picture that I just took. Sorry. Okay. It's a sort of a wooden box. It's a small box, like a suitcase with letters falling out of it. Yeah. So this is a suitcase. This is a little box I found again in my father-in-law's cupboard with lots of letters in it. And so I am reading it not as the box itself. I just wrote it. I'll read it out for you. So Ratna is my mother-in-law. And so I read, Ratna always kept letters safe in this box. Letters from her mother, letters from her brother, and most of all, letters from Srikantu, from all the places he went away on work and so far away and for so long. These letters may weigh only a few grams, but they have carried news of birth and death and joys and sorrows of times too heavy to carry on. Smudged ink, some of them have, fragile paper, some are, but they carried everything two lives could have lived. 60 years of words on paper, all in this little box.
Yeah. Very nice. What a way to introduce the box to the world. Yeah. It just opens up so much. Yeah. Thanks, Dipti. It's open to interpretation, re-narrative, everything. Yeah, very nice. It's a nice way to offer it to your archive, whoever your archival audience is. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is the same object that I'm talking about. 1 minute. Okay. So I think I would like to place it in the living room with a set of instructions about how to play it, so that people get to use it, and it's the art of playing it is somehow not forgotten with Dadi, and it holds a special value for my grandmother, because growing up near a coal mine, all that she got to play with was sticks and climbing trees and stones. And when she got married into this family, then this was the first physical game that she had, something that she could hold on to. So she was very fascinated, and she always wanted to keep it. When my great grandmother passed away, she was very determined to get it, and so that this is not passed on to somebody else. And so yeah, and she also mastered it. Like every time somebody would play with her, she would win all the time. So I think this is why it's very important to her, and that's why I would like everybody to learn it. Yeah.
Thank you.
I had written a little something. If I could go next.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
So the object is this. This is the recording equipment that I found of my grandfather. Like he would just sort of connect it with this big stereo that we had at home. So I found this old box and all nicely kept it in this box. Also, I found this one cassette of his which had his voice recording. It was also the first time I was introduced to him. So I wrote, I don't know if it's long, but I'll just read it out. On 1st November 2017, I felt like I was listened to after nearly 20 years. It felt like I had taken a rebirth in the same house, in the same room, in the same setting. Oakwood Place, Chakhu Hills, Shimla. It was cold that day, just the kind of chill I preferred in Shimla. Windy, chilly weather. Some hot milk laden with cream and turmeric, and that's when I would sing. I would sit with Sumitra and she'd listen to my ghazals. Zalim शराब पीने दे मस्जिद में बैठकर या फिर वो जगह बता जहां पर खुदा नहीं. Some nights I'd cry singing. I think I felt so small in this universe, so tiny, so worthless. I just felt like a piece of flesh, only waiting to be acknowledged. Every time I would feel this emptiness, I would record myself. I wonder, will this be the only way or the only proof of my existence? Will this be the only connect between me and my granddaughter? So,
This is very beautiful again, Avantika. I think what all of you, even what Vallabhi is doing and what happened earlier with Dipti and now Avantika, you guys are also placing it in relation to yourselves. So I'm seeing the archivist as the curator, also in some place, the archivist is now almost the artist when you're writing texts like this. So whatever direction you choose, the placing of this object in the public space, the framing of that placing of the object is also becoming clear. And that's gentle, and they are ready to have their own life, is what I'm saying. That you're able to place it. And this is what this exercise is about. How do we place this object in the world? Now this placing, this intention is getting clear. You know, Vallabhi saying her grandmother always won it. You placed it, that this was a game that empowered her in a way, in a family that may not have otherwise. I'm making an assumption. This thing of the voice being heard. So this is nice. These are curatorial visions. These are archival, also entry points now. And then I can take this and go and play with it further if I want to. But these are very clear archival entry points of placing objects. Yes, thank you. This is exactly what this exercise is about. Yeah.
So this is the box that I shared earlier. And what I've written is, so this metal box is one of the many things which was handed over to Ishita Shah by her maternal aunt after they discovered her passion for historical preservation. But no stories were asked or told. This box is made of XYZ metal with wooden sleeve inserted to contain more items in it. It is 4.75 inches by 3 inches by about 2 inches in height, but there's no information on the maker, about the maker. It doesn't close properly and was found filled with dust and bugs. Except for the bottom surface, all of it is external sides are carved of beautiful natural forms. Traces of color suggest that either this case was originally painted or the material has colorized due to weather changes. This box still lies empty on the stone ledge in Ishita's bedroom in her parents' home in Ahmedabad.
That's beautiful, Ishita. Also, I like the tone of it because it's such a technical language, but the technical language is bordering on poetry. What is that line which says the maker of the box lies unknown? Is that what you said, or is it absent?
Yeah. So I contrasted it with, after telling you immediately after 4 inches to 3 inches to 2 inches, but the maker is not known.
Yeah. This is also really good strategy, that we think that it is a technical language, but we've heard so much about the box. And sometimes I love lists, actually. I love like technical language, law, the language of law, or the language of science, or the language of archiving. It's a technical language, but and that's quite conscious, there's an addition of like a poetic layer. So that's a strategy we can use if we don't want to create large narratives. But it's told me so much about the box, its location, its history, that its maker is unknown. That to me is the most vital piece of information. Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
So this is actually an image of Pradeep Sachdeva at Mungud in Karnataka. Pradeep was there to sort of design, his first site visit, I think, to design a monastery for the Tibetan community there. Mungud is possibly the largest settlement of Tibetan refugees in the world. And the studio worked on designing a monastery for the community there. It was for the Rato Drashtang monastery. And this project is also sort of important in terms of not just what the studio did and that, they designed it, but it's also about really how a community in exile also, sort of tried to make a place its own.
Thank you, Vishwesh. That's so. I think what's really critical here is that it got tied very quickly to this personal idea with the large political idea and of the community. That a community in exile made it its own place. I think that was a great transition. You were able to make that connection very briefly and quite succinctly. The personal got connected to the political and a larger sense of politics in the world. Yeah. There are many strategies, and I'm the last one to say this is the best strategy. Now we are revealing this to each other. What are the varied strategies we can use in creating labels, in creating categories for the objects to be placed or received? Yeah. Yeah, somebody else?
Oh yeah, and that was what Aarti and I both put together. So
yeah, that's good. Yeah. You're also lucky to be working in twos. It always helps.
So the object from 1950s in Gwalior homes, now memorabilia for collectors, the yellow tin circular box with chipped paint patches from
J.B. Mangaram and Company, belonging from the time when glucose biscuits were considered energy foods and health-conscious energy bars were distant thoughts. This evokes nostalgia and memories of childhood for many. Traveling from Sukur in Sindh, Pakistan, Calcutta, Bombay, and Delhi, the Mangaram factory came to Gwalior in 1951. The sweet smell of biscuits from the factory still lingers in the city. The humble biscuits were also served to the British soldiers during World War II, making them Asia's largest biscuits produced factory in 1950s. Yeah.
Concise, yeah, enough information to draw me in, to take me somewhere else, to create context. Yeah, Saman, thank you.
Yeah.
I can go next.
Yes, Kamal, please.
So this photograph, I just asked my mom about it, and so this is how she said it says dedicated to those who sacrificed for Telangana separation. So in Telugu it says Telangana Amara Verula Dwaram. And so she also said around 68 or 69, my mom lost a year of college because of the Telangana movement. She said she remembered young boys shouting Telangana, Telangana. And so this is from Wikipedia. So I'm trying to piece it together now. The 1969 Telangana Agitation was a political movement for the statehood for the Telangana region. And so the first person to raise the issue of Telangana happened in 1968. So there was a hunger strike. And so in one text, they said that this man had died from the hunger strike. He passed away from this fast. But then in this Wikipedia entry, it says there was an indiscriminate police firing. 369 Telangana students were killed. So I'm just trying to figure out what actually happened. And I have this book on Hyderabad, and then it doesn't talk about the students being killed, but in Wikipedia it does. So
no, but what I liked was the Wikipedia one, which is a sort of like citation needed kind of thing. Like I like that you're building it, when you can hyperlink it to whether citation is there or is needed for now, because it very clearly brings the attention to that it's an archive in progress. And that you said it's said in Wikipedia, because we can take Wikipedia only so seriously and not anymore, unless the citations are clear, etc. But I think these are good entry points. It's also, I think, quite clear in its intent. The political language of it is quite clear in its intent, at least to somebody who's hearing the project just newly. And I like the little Wikipedia, and you say Wikipedia, but you can build on it with more research. But I'm looking for just clear information with very distinct markers, years or a story, and somebody having killed themselves. Very powerful, yeah.
So Anuja, this object is different from what we did in the earlier exercise, given that I have spent more time on this object already. It's a photograph.
We can't see your screen yet, yeah? We can't see your screen.
Okay. So, so I think I would like to imagine that we're maybe 5 years down the line where the archives is set up, and this picture is primarily to welcome everyone to Sir Prabhashankar Patni Archives, and this is a section where we have all artifacts and correspondences which depict the relation that Sir Prabhashankar Patni had with Gandhiji. And this picture was taken in on 28th of August in 1947 in the pre-independent Constituent Assembly session. The significance of this picture is that the portrait of Gandhiji was painted by Sir Oswald Burley in London, where Gandhiji posed for the painting over a period of 1 month, every day for an hour, because Sir Prabhashankar Patni had insisted that he give his time for this painting. And when this painting was done, Sir Prabhashankar Patni carried it back to India, and he had instructed his son, Anantrai Patni, who is in the picture with Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, to hand it over to the Lok Sabha. And this painting is still there in the parliament today. And so this is the story around this photograph.
Is there the photograph? Can we see it? No, it's just the letter. No problem. It's just out of my curiosity, but that's a great story. Yeah.
Yeah, the picture, unfortunately, I'm not able to share, and I'm not. Yeah. I think maybe when.
Yes, this is a great reframing of Gandhiji because you're suddenly imagining him standing there waiting to be photographed. It's an aspect we don't know. It's so nice. I like this. We don't know that aspect. Yeah.
Hi, can everyone see the screen?
Yes,
Yes,
we
ma'am,
can.
we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I couldn't see your faces. It's just hidden behind the screen. Anyways, so I actually just jotted down a couple of points on people and places, and then sort of its history and background. This is the object, and I'm calling it Zarina Begum's glass. This is an inscription, and then I'm assuming that this is the maker's name. So over here we have a couple of, I've listed down the number of people who've owned it and passed it down. And then the first person is Muhammad Ali, who was my grandfather, Major Muhammad Ali, and he was posted in Pune at the time when he got this made for his then fiance, Zarina Begum, and then Rakshanda Akhtar is my mother, and then Isabet is my sister, who's the real owner of this glass right now. And I'm just keeping it for the workshop. And this is a list of places that I've listed down here, that where did it go, and what kind of migrations it took. So it was made in Pune in India in 1942. Then it went to Toba Tek Singh before the partition. Then it went to after the partition, it went to. It was taken back by my grandfather, and it was taken to Abbottabad, where he was posted. Then it went to Lahore, and then it after my grandparents passed away, it was sort of given to my mom, who's the youngest child of that family. And then after that, it went to Rawalpindi, and from Rawalpindi, it's back in Lahore with me right now. As a little story points, I've just jotted down a couple of points which I can probably stitch together to make a bigger narrative. So this was Pune 1942, where it was actually given by Major Muhammad Ali to the silver maker, who I do not know who that is. But KPS is written underneath the glass as an inscription. So probably some research can be done for that. He got this made, and there were two. Basically, this was a pair, and both the pair had their names inscribed on it. And at that time, he was not married to my grandmother. He was about to get married. So this was more like a gesture of getting made a small gift for the to-be bride. And after that, then the whole partition thing happened, and there were a lot of news in the army, and he came back from Pune to his village, which is Toba Tek Singh, and he placed all his luggage there. But during the whole partition thing, the whole luggage was moved and displaced, and both the glasses were separated, both the inscribed glasses, which one of them had the name Muhammad Ali Peer Baksh, and the other one had Zarina Begum inscribed on it. And years later, he found the glass in one of his distant family members. So he took it back, and then he gave this glass to his then wife, which was Zarina Begum, and it was in her use for a very long time. And after they passed away, it was given to my mother. The interesting thing about this object is, if I just zoom it a bit, it has a lot of fingerprints on it. I have zero idea how that it can be done. It's made up of silver, and this is the inscription with the year and the name. So that's about it.
Wow, Mevish, I like the idea of the map of the object traveling to all these places. It has so much stories. If the glass could talk about Rawalpindi and Pune and Lahore, I wonder what stories it would tell. And when you talk about the separation of the glasses, it's like lovers that have been separated. There are two very strong entry points: the idea of the separation of the objects and the travel of the places. Yeah. Yeah, I felt like there was there was a love story of the glasses.
Yeah, I felt that too. Thank you.
Thank you. You have very, very great narrative qualities to your telling of it. It makes it very exciting to listen to.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Anybody? If we have lots of people left, Johan and Manira and who else?
Maybe I can go in next.
Yes, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so this is a hand-painted map of the ports, especially the Bhavnagar port. And since I'm working on these state papers, a lot of these hand-painted maps I've come across, right? Because we are looking at the early 20th century when we did not have a lot of technology to print, and largely a lot of these were done with hand. Um, and this is a map that details the port of Bhavnagar, and so this is the object I had come across, and this object actually got me going to Bhavnagar and visiting the port. And this is I just decided to have some fun, and this is what I could write, that I am the port of Bhavnagar, an ancient port, an important port of Kathiawar, a gateway to the world and a window into the past. I no longer exist, but through this map, a map created many moons ago by careful, meticulous hands. My creeks run dry now, siltation drowns both the banks. No ships come by, and my warehouses are empty. Modest runs its workshop there. Modest indeed is my fate. Modest is the name of a very small company which just repairs ship now. There is no other traffic that happens in this creek, and this is the site of the old port of Bhavnagar. So while we still have a port in Bhavnagar, it's a very small port. This used to be the site where a lot of transactions would have taken place. It's an ancient site, and this is what the warehouses looked like. Only the remains. There are only some rundown remains that are there. So yeah, I'm sure there are so many stories associated with the sport, and we're still discovering new documents every single day. But ports is what I'm looking at. So my story, my object is port.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank
Stunning
you.
work. Yeah.
It's disconnected from me. It is not personal, but at the same time, I see a history of a place there, history of the people, and history of business. So for me, I'm very clear that it's not mine, but it is a history of that region, and I want to chronicle it. So it's just prompted a whole lot of journeys also for me. So I've actually ended up going to this spot.
Yeah, Tana, you should check out Ranjit Kandalgakar's work if you know Ranjit. He's done a lot of work on Alang shipbreaking and big drawings of ships, and I'll send you his link. His father was a captain, and his father's ship came to Alang. He follows every object from the ship. He draws.
Oh, it's fascinating, Anuja.
So, yeah.
Alang is a place which I think everybody should go to, because it's like a different world.
Yeah, and the way you've connected the map to the place, I think these are also like deep connections you're making. And you and Avni are working on the same archive, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
I can't wait. Such a diverse collection it has. Yeah, beautiful. Stunning work. Yeah.
Okay. So can you see this object?
Yes.
Yeah. This is a lace crimper or a gota patti crimper that belonged to my grandmother-in-law's grandmother. So it's over a century old. And Dadi, my grandmother-in-law, brought it back to Ahmedabad from Jaswantgarh, her hometown, few years after her wedding in 1954. It's made of brass, and it's a simple machine with one gear, with no markings of its maker. We don't know where it was made and when. So crimping gota patti seems to have been a household occupation, as my grandmother and other women would use this quite often to crimp lace. And this object as a machine probably represents attitudes towards creating embellishments, beauty, and detail in leisure. So it shows that people were invested in creating, ornaments for the clothing that they would wear. So it indicates the ways of costumes and clothing that people wore about a century ago. And it's actually a very easy but sophisticated technology from a slow time, or a time of slowness, possibly a pre-modern time when people had hours to just crimp miles of lace, something as ordinary as miles of lace from it. So it's really fascinating, and I don't know what objects of leisure from this time would look like and whether they would be as beautiful as this.
Niharika, and you have other objects as well, I'm guessing. Like there's a body of objects or what?
This is, yeah, I do.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just asking for like interest of the archive, what the archive has.
Yes,
like,
so Dadi has a lot of different kinds of objects, not similar to this, but there are records and kurtas and photographs and other items also.
Okay, cool. Thank you. What is the nice phrase you use? The history of leisure? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Crimping lace and leisure.
Yeah, leisure, yeah.
For the purpose of this project, I think it was, I mean, I had a lot of thought about this.
Priyanjali, can you please put off your audio? It's extremely disturbing. Yeah. Sorry, Shobna. Yeah.
Right. So as part of this project, and because the type of the project it is, I think for me to maintain the integrity, I think I need to be part of one of the stories in the initial phases. Because people will ask me, I mean, why am I doing this? And part of it is that I need to put my face out there as well. So part of my history is this book, which was printed in 1993 and gifted to me around the time, a few years after I came out, by a person I was having an affair with. And this was because I didn't have any connection to India then, this became, at that time I thought I was the only Indian lesbian around, back in like early 1990s. And this gave me a connection to India. And there's like a lot of people around. And this was the first anthology of gay and lesbian lives. And this was 1993. And the connection to this in my journey is that 19 years later, as part of my publishing, I launched my publishing business with another anthology called Out. And in between, there were only 12 anthologies done in 19 years of, visualizing lives of LGBT Indians, specific to India. Only 12 anthologies were published. There were academic papers, there were other papers as well. But in terms of putting, visualizing lives, the anthology was, it had a huge impact on a large number of people, because it was done by, larger publishers. It was published by larger publishers, which meant it went into bookstores. And that's, and then there's, aside from all this, there's recounting of anecdotal things like, for example, people would call me up and say, it was great to have it in crossword, because a person in a burqa from Hyderabad, for example, would go there 1 hour every day for a week to read the entire book and put it back on the shelf, because she could not take it home or buy it or take it home. So these type of things I want to weave into the project via my own story, and also to give the project, to give confidence to the project, I think, to other movements, for them to also to come out to have my story put out through this as well, I think.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea, Shobna. I think you show solidarity by sharing as well. Yeah, that would give everybody a lot of confidence, and I think it would be very powerful.
I hope so.
Yeah, no, it sounds amazing. Tell us when it happens. It would be so nice to follow these things, and amplify it and share it. Yeah, we have Johan and Munira to finish off, and Priyanjali, if her connection can come back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yeah, no, it's great now.
Okay, I'm going to just quickly read. Unfortunately, I can't share the photograph, but I'll just tell you about it. Yeah. This photography archive is of Dinesh Gupta, a young boy from Calcutta, who chanced upon a black and white camera at a very young age and became a cinematographer and director in Bengali cinema between 1955 and 2000. Growing up around the Bengali film industry, he went around with a camera making portraits of his family, colleagues, other actors, actresses, and characters he met in life. His amateur interest in photography took a striking turn in 1955 when he got a chance to be an assistant cameraman for Satyajit Ray's Pather Pachali. Then he went on to becoming a cameraman and shot films like Ajantrik, Bari Theke Paliye, Meghe Daka Tara with Rittik Ghatak. Notun Pata was his first film as a director that won a national award. His first film in color was Utpal Datto's Jhor. This black and white photograph is from his movie Prothom Pratisruti, which was originally a book written by the famous feminist writer Ashapurna Devi. Shottobati, played by his daughter Shonali Gupta. This image speaks so much about his knowledge with lighting and his love for shooting portraits in natural light. His work speaks about the Bengali society, the identity of women, and the duality of being an educated married Bengali woman in the 20th century Bengal. His photographic image blends beautifully with realism and the role of women, their helplessness, and their protests. And the heroines of his movies are expressions of this protest.
Wow, I didn't know that your grandfather shot Ajantrik and Meghe Daka Tara. They are my favorite films, like Ajantrik especially. Priyanjali, you have an absolutely, it's a gold mine. I can't believe there's no work done on him.
Yes.
I'm actually surprised. You have a long journey. I mean, it's film history at its basic. I mean, it's really important work.
Yes.
I hope you get, I mean, really, I hope you get other people to work on it because I'm assuming the scale is massive.
Yes, it is. And in fact, I haven't, like I said, just hyperlinks are building up. And I'm in a very initial stage of it. But thanks to Ishita, it's a good start for me to at least start getting it together.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
Anuja, I just located the picture you wanted to see. So if there are like 10 seconds, I'll just...
Which one? I forgot. Which picture of
the one with the Gandhi...
The Gandhi picture. Yeah, I would love to see it. Yeah, quickly.
Yeah. Hang on, huh?
Wow.
So this is a photo. And Avni, if you could just explain, if you want to explain the...
Yeah, so this is where you have Gandhiji's portrait, which is painted, and on the left is Satyabha Shankar Patni's son in 1927. He's sitting down, and you have Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan receiving the painting portrait from him.
Cool. Okay, so Munira, do you want to share or what?
I don't think we've heard from Munira, so
okay.
I'm assuming she's not around or not able to participate.
Okay, so should we bring the session to a close? I think it's been rather intense. It's been intense for me as well to absorb all of it, and there have been some, I think we pushed you a bit to do lots of exercises, but I hope this work percolates and thinking continues. And it'll assimilate. I think some of these things can be used in practice, some immediately, some in the long term, but a lot of my work is long-term work. It's not a quick pop workshop. I don't have tools and tricks for quick things because I think archival work, like performance work, is lifelong work. It's not, I can't wake up and be a performer. I can't wake up and present a collection. It has to seep into our bodies and into our consciousness. And I really believe in that. So yeah, thank you for sharing all of these things with me. I'm happy to chat in the future if we need to connect on something. Yeah, basically, I just want to thank you because unless you all have some questions and some reflections, I'm happy to hear the reflections.
So Anuja, just a quick thing, I mean, I absolutely liked how we enmeshed the performance with the archives because that is one bit that I have not looked at, because of the nature of the archives that we are dealing with. I had never thought that we could actually mix or, bring in performance with archives, which I think is a fantastic idea because we are trying to also reach out to the younger generation, right? In terms of the academia, in terms of research, in terms of everything. I think if we bring in some more performance and some more creativity to the way we are projecting the archive, it's going to make much more sense rather than having a very conventional way of looking at these state archives and just doing it for the sake of the family in that sense. I think for a larger reach, performance is, I think, going to take us a long way. So even like for instance, if you're planning to set up a sort of museum or library of sorts, I absolutely like the fact that if you can get younger kids to also maybe perform some bits out of the papers, just look up for some instances for the papers and then just put them out and get students to even get involved to perform. I think that, to me, it's given me a lot of ideas, honestly. So thank you so much.
I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad. And to engage with children in archives is fantastic. They really turn it on its head. Yeah. Any reflections, if anybody has? I'm sorry, I thought the session was till 4, but Ishita says it was till 5. Sorry, so I was bringing it to a close. But any reflections, if you have?
I have a question rather than a reflection. I would like to hear from you. I just wanted to know that in this whole discourse of story and narrative, we often use the word interchangeably. So while we know the basic difference between them, how do you differentiate between story and the narrative, considering that you do perform a story and you have to weave a narrative for it? So can you, as your closing comments, it's a very basic question for you.
No, it's not a basic question. It's a great question. I do use story and narrative interchangeably, but I'll tell you how I see the distinction. I see stories as smaller, maybe perhaps more personal. And when I start to use the word narrative, they start to become bigger. And therefore I say like the state narrative. With the narrative, I frame them in maybe more big ways, in like state telling the story or reclaiming narrative. And when I say story, it's very personal for me. But I do think both have performative aspects to it. But for me, the story is smaller, closer to my heart, and the narrative is when it starts becoming bigger. Lady Anandi started with my story and now has become a narrative about gender, let me say. So that's how I see it. And then narratives become political discourse, and then it starts to get murky and messy. But yeah, sometimes I do use it interchangeably as well. But story is something smaller, more basic, and then it becomes bigger, it becomes narrative building for me, and then histories is how I would look at it.
Thank you.
I think I just had one reflection of what I wrote was how I found it a little discomfortable, some of the parts in English, and immediate reaction after I read it out was, what if I had written it in Gujarati? Because the relationship between Masi and me, who actually handed over the box to me, the conversation was in Gujarati. And I'm not saying that writing in Gujarati would have been easy, of course, because there are so many words like crafts and all of that. I don't know the Gujarati. I mean, immediately I wouldn't know. But either ways, this whole idea that we're still working with one language or one way of communicating, but mixing it up is something I'm personally very, very keen on. And that sort of came up again.
Great. Yeah, it's a great thought. I mean, it's very vital to reach more communities. And yet English is the language of transaction. So there's a fine line that we go back and forth. Yeah, so a lot of Lady Anandi happens in English, but there are parts of it that I would have liked to do in Marathi, but I keep very little. Yeah, of course, yeah.
One kind of like a comment here. Somehow, because like I think like this has been wonderful exercise, and it's like exercises. Somehow I resembled these exercises like when you do a film and a TV series, because TV series or just like a drama which will be run or distributed into episodes, then like and doing a film which is like kind of full feature film, 180 minutes or something, is difficult, in fact, because you would have to conclude a lot and you would have to just like go back and forth, and then so it's kind of like it's been a great exposure, but like how like to like how one would in fact like put things in a conclusive manner, and doing like giving title to your painting and giving like kind of a name to your film, in fact. So I've like, because It's kind of like a media studies.
Yeah, but only the archive is a never-ending film. So
it's a never-ending
the
film.
archive,
Yes.
the archival film never ends, and
Yeah,
that film is open to reinterpretation, and it's open to re-editing.
Yes.
Because if we fix it as a film, then the archive becomes a fixed site, right? So I appreciate you. I appreciate you saying that this is about, but it is episodic, like a TV serial for sure. But I would be careful. I would be careful to call it a film, which has definitely a narrative beginning, middle, and end. And that's what I was saying earlier. Archives come in the middle of history. They continue it. There is no the end or fin in an archive in my mind. Yeah. So in that sense, I differ from what you're saying.
Or the end with some curiosity or something which is going to be reappeared. Yeah, that's
possibly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like. It's more like a reflection about the first exercise where we were supposed to write about how we would want to be remembered as. And like when I was writing that, I was writing it from my nephew's perspective, and I really didn't know. Like, I think at my stage in my life, I don't know how I would want to be remembered as. So whatever I wrote, it was more like how he would remember my present, like whatever I am right now. And this made me think that I've never really thought about how my grandmother would, want people to remember her, or maybe I've never even questioned her. Like, I've always thought about how I would want to remember her. And I mean, this just like I've started thinking about it, and I actually I think this is what I take back from this workshop.
Thanks. Yeah, Vallabhi. I mean, whichever way you choose to remember her, it's I think quite beautiful that you're choosing to remember her even. I think that's what I keep saying, that act of utterance itself is an important act, politically, personally, and historically as well. For young Vallabhi to remember her grandmother is an act of claiming her history for her. Yeah, I like that.
Lockdown, I don't think I had a chance to think about myself, and I think writing that note gave me a little sense of self-love, because I don't think we've had the time to think about ourselves, especially the ones who are taking care of other people. So I think writing that definitely made me think a little about myself as well, which has nothing to do with the archival project, but at least it gives you that moment to just stop and think, and sometimes it just refreshes your mind.
And Ranjali, self-care is feminist practice as well. Like, we have to take care of ourselves to be able to take care of our family, and family archives. Oh my God. I mean, those are big projects that we're undertaking. Thank you.
I just wanted to say thank you. As I said in the exercise, Joshua said that, when Shobu makes a decision, it's more like, I'm on the right path. And today's session, via serendipity of Ishita and you being here and others, it sort of affirms that I'm on the right path, and my learning has evolved through this a lot today and settled for the project. And I'm purely selfish in this, that this is for my learning and for my affirmation. And the last 8 months with a hyperactive kid, this has just totally made me settled in the project of what I want to do and hopefully how I want to do it. Thank you so much for providing this space, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ishita, for really thinking of me, because I'm not the conventional archive workshop giver. Like I said, I'm a little bit of a disruptor and a provocateur. And that was my role quite decidedly today, to shake things up a bit. I hope I didn't do it too much. But of course, if Priyanjali took some self-care and self-love, I'm very happy. It's really important.
When you had dropped out, that's what I was telling Rupal, that this was in a way a little bit planned to bring in this disruption. So I'm just glad that everybody enjoyed the disruption. So my second head is going towards gauging everybody's comfort, discomfort, seeing what it will do to the larger project. But I think, this was necessary, rather called for.
And also, disruption doesn't mean that we don't have rigor, that my practice as a performance maker has no rigor or no frameworks. We work with very strong languages You know, Arish, the language of performance making is very strong. The language of, I've been working with archives since I'm 27. So, so the frameworks and the rigor is quite strong, but some of us are offering newer ways to look at things. And in the beginning, they do look a bit uncomfortable and we are not happy with discomfort. And especially in the last 9 months. So I understand that. But yeah, if there's confusion, that's great. Certainty, I mean, come on, we're living in pandemic times. What is certainty? I don't know. But please, let's keep in touch. I would love to know how these projects work out because, like I said, I feel like I'm an archivist at heart, and I would be happy to follow you guys on Instagram, Facebook. I'm all over, unfortunately. So Instagram is better if you follow my account. I'm happy to follow you back. Lonely Hearts Club is only for the project. So my next work is a virtual project for Serendipity Arts Virtual. So that's looking at archives of the last 269 days of the pandemic on artificial reality, and yeah, so it's moving in that direction. So please do stay in touch. And Ishita and Vallavi, thank you so much.
Thank you, Anuja. I mean, the idea is that if we can have something happening by Jan or Feb, we do plan to have a more curated experience of these projects. And we hope to call you back then. Yes,
that would be great. Do. Thank you.
So not just for the workshop. So we'll keep you posted on that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for spending this day with us and planning the exercises, sharing such interesting resources. Yeah, I can see everyone's charged up, but yet overwhelmed. I think it's going to be a good thing. And it moves us, all of us, to what is planned for November. So I'm just leaving it with that line right now where let's start building stories with your collections, even if you do part of it or you know, the whole of your archive, or if it's a research question that you're working with, because these are different projects. So when we all meet after Diwali, the idea is to start seeing your stories. Right now, we did it with 1 or 2 objects as Anuja sort of had curated and instigated us. But now it would be interesting to work with more materials because the archive would be a collection. It would be objects which are interrelated and how they start talking to each other. So if you can move into that space, that's what we want through the next rest of the program. And then in December, we start designing and visualizing these narratives. So yes, thank you, Anuja. Thank you everyone for staying on and participating.
Thank you, everyone.